Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. The next 10 minutes are inspired by a test prep program and some earplugs. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to the engine. I have a really loud house. Okay, and anybody who's been around a house filled with boys will understand. It gets really loud, especially for younger guys. Um, it it's the kind of thing where I've kind of eased into it, obviously. So I have a first kid and it starts out pretty quietly, and then you have a second kid and he's a little louder. A third kid, all bets are off. Everyone's screaming and yelling, and that's it. And my first my first son was actually really quiet. He didn't have a large tolerance for loud noises. That's just the way he was. If he heard like a banging or, people crying or screaming, other kids playing around, he'd just kind of freak out because our house was kind of quiet. Now, my third kid is so acclimated to noise that his favorite mode of communication is just screaming. It's You can't blame him because his brothers mess with him a ton. And they'll do things and they'll run away with toys and they'll manipulate him, and he'll have some toy that he's playing with and the older kid will want it and he'll walk and be like, "Hey, look at this shiny ball." And the 3-year-old will pick up the ball and be like, "Ball?" And then the older kid runs away with his toy, and by the time the 3-year-old realizes that he's been duped and the toy he was playing with is stolen, the 6 or 8-year-old's down the hall with it going into their rooms, and he can't get it back. And so he just starts screaming. Obviously, he can't say, that's very unfair of you. I don't think that's appropriate. So he just starts screaming. He needs our help. There's a lot of screaming. And a lot of it's nonsense. Okay, a lot of the screaming is not necessarily a cry for justice, but it's more of just screaming to scream because they like the sound of their voice and their screams, or non-stop stream of consciousness. Now, stream of consciousness with little kids is very interesting because you're not actually getting anything of value out of it. For instance, my oldest son will ask if he can tell us about his dreams. Now, his dreams are not actual dreams, as in he did not dream something while he was sleeping and then want to convey it. Nor are they dreams as in, I dream one day to be Michael Phelps. They're not like that either. They're literally just stories that he makes up on the fly, and he just wants to talk to you and have your attention and make up the story on the fly. He doesn't even want your feedback. He just wants to talk at you. Well, I mean, he'll talk for, my God, 20, 30 minutes if you let him. Total stream of consciousness, making this up. And he'll check in occasionally. He was like, "Are you listening?" You have to be ready to say, "Oh yeah, I'm listening." And you just keep going. It's a bit painful. So, last week I put in some earplugs. I'm hanging out with the kids. I'm doing dishes. I'm making lunch. I'm doing all this stuff. And I was like, I can't. Just why? So I put in these earplugs. Just little guys, stuff them in my ears. And it just brings down the volume. It doesn't stop everything from happening. It doesn't stop the screaming. It doesn't stop the stories. It doesn't stop the just non-stop rhetorical questions that are being thrown around. But it does take it down a notch. It does take the meaningless noise down. No matter what, for lunch, no matter what you give my son, my oldest, he's going to complain about it. And you have to go through this dramatic theatrical song and dance. You have to eat your lunch. I don't like it. You have to eat your lunch. I don't like it. Okay, if you don't eat it, I have to send you to your room. And it with earplugs in, honestly, I don't care that much. Hey, eat it. That's it. And then I don't even hear the grunting and like he's gagging or something. He hasn't even eaten anything. So I put the earplugs in. It made things a little bit easier, which was nice. But I really thought about this student I had years ago, Zach. And Zach was great. He was really real which was fantastic. And he came from a very, very wealthy family, which I have no problem with. Had this, I think it was like 10 or 12,000 square foot house. But he was real. Like, I could have a real conversation with him, which I appreciated. He wasn't the type of kid who came from money and just kind of detached from the world. He was very straight up with me, and we'd go back and forth and argue, and I'd tell him how I saw it, and he respected it, and we got along really well. And he was telling me one day that he had done prep with this prep program before me. Now, again, that's not uncommon at all. A lot of times people try different prep programs, are very displeased with them, and then get a recommendation from their friend. They're like, oh my God, you got to try this guy. So they come to me and they're like, oh, well, that was a waste of time. And so I always ask, like, okay, well, who's the prep? Just curious, how did it go? Did they do anything that you liked? And I'm always looking to improve. And he said, like, no, it was terrible. It was a waste of money. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And he immediately said, my mom wouldn't listen to me. Now, again, not that big of a deal. But for some reason, I just asked, I was like, well, what do you mean your mom won't listen to you? I was like, well, I came home after the first day. It was a 2-person prep program. And literally, Zach said it was 4 hours. And the dude teaching it would get up in front of a whiteboard, start talking, would not stop talking, would not turn around for questions, would not turn around to make eye contact, would just start for 4 hours, cover every single problem like a robot, drop the mic and walk. And he said the girl that was in the class with him was super anxious. She was not getting the material. They weren't talking. He could tell every second that went by she was freaking out. He said it was torture. So he'd come home and he'd tell his mom. He's like, Mom, this prep program sucks. Like, she'd immediately tell him, like, Zach, you need to pay attention to this. And he's like, Mom, look, I'm telling you right now, you're wasting your money. And she would turn around and say, like, Zach, we are paying a lot of money for this, so you better pay attention. I think it was for the group prep. I think he told me it was something like $200 an hour, even though he was in there with somebody else. It was really expensive. And he would keep at it. He's like, Mom, you don't understand. And she would just lose it. She's like, Zach, I'm not talking to you about this anymore. You pay attention. We are investing a lot of money. This is your future. And just, like, leave the room. Right? So he got nowhere with her. He finally, I think this was like 2008, 2009, he finally took an iPhone, which he had, and just put it up on the table and started videotaping the guy at the board. And he videotaped him for like 10, 20 minutes and took it home and didn't say anything. He just walked up to his mom, hit play, and put it down on the counter. And she watched it for like 5 or 10 minutes and instantly said, we're getting our money back. Which I thought was so funny. They canceled him instantly. She was livid on the phone with the prep company. And then I guess I heard from them like the next week or something. We started, and Zach did really well. But I thought about Zach and his mom with my earplugs. Because I think a lot of parents do what I did. Either physically they put in earplugs or mentally they just stop. They just stop the noise. And I get why. I mean, young kids are brutal, and teenagers are even more brutal. Like the BS that they throw at you. Like a teenager who's really trying to get out of something will spin a tale that's just so absurd, and they won't agree to anything. It's like, can you agree you weren't home last night at midnight because they were out late and you're trying to find out where they were? It's like, well, I don't know. I mean, like, I left my phone home. It's like, I didn't ask if you left your phone home. Were you home? I was like, wait, which home? Because I was like, they just go round and round, and so you just stop listening. And that's the problem. You put the earplugs in and you never take them out. And that's a transition. There's a transition in between, like 8 and 16, somewhere in there. The stuff that your kids start saying to you is not, he stole my red ball. It's really, really important. And what's worse is the more important it is, the more quietly they say it. And the more delicately they dance around it. And if you have earplugs in, or if you're running too fast with a million other things, you're going to miss all of it. And it just kills me to see my students and to hear the stories of what they may have tried to tell their parents, or the issues that come up. And I don't ask, but a lot of times students start sharing things with me, and I always say, like, look, you got to talk to your parents about this. And the kid always says, I tried. And I believe him. I believe him 100%. Parents spend so much time blocking out BS and blocking out just white noise. And they spend so much time trying to reprimand and align their kids' values and behavior with appropriate behavior and appropriate values, that it's almost like the default that the kid was wrong. And or the kid was either wrong, or the kid's saying something that doesn't even matter. But man, that's where this giant chasm comes from. That's where this giant disconnect comes from. It's like me the other day with the earplugs in. That's when my kid says, do you remember when I told you that? I told you that part of the story. And as embarrassing and as horrible it was, it's like, no, I don't remember. And he doesn't know, but I wasn't even listening. He's 8. He's 8 and I've already stopped listening. So the next time you want to tune someone out, as convenient as it is, and I understand the draw, the next time you want to tune them out, fine, take a break. But you better come back to listening pretty fast. Because the dynamic that Zach and his mom had cost her a lot more than just some money with a crummy prep company. I'm Matt Todd, and this is the engine that drives me. Go out and crush it.